Recording in progress.
Welcome in to the latest episode of the Betting the Pitch Soccer podcast. I guess I've lost my voice from screaming at bars all weekend, but I'm your host, _G Warner. We are going through the Match Day 6 edition of the Champions League episode. And we're going to come out with a best bet from Tuesday and Wednesday. Pick my favorite from Tuesday, favorite from Wednesday. Smack it into a YouTube short at _G Warner or an Instagram reel at _G Warner. And we're 12-7-1, 63% so far year to date. The matches I've caught up on, I watched them all. So I am going through as quickly as I possibly can. Coming off a bit of a high after an incredible under and underdog both go to overtime and somehow still maintain a cover on both sides. Love that. And let's hope that that's a good indicator for Champions League Tuesday. We'll start where the money is. That's where Champions League is, of course. And we'll start in a very early matchup. Didn't actually see that it was at 9:30 Central Time, which is far, far earlier than any Champions League match I've ever seen. I believe because Kairat Almaty is far, far east, and I think it gets very, very cold in whatever the heck country. What country are they in? Let's see. Kairat is in Kazakhstan. Yes, they actually do play the UEFA World Cup qualifiers. Plenty to come on that, by the way. I'm going to try to get a World Cup type of episode together, probably like talking futures and stuff. Probably would help for us to have the Euro qualifiers and playoffs done, but that's going to take a while. So maybe just an initial episode, probably over the holidays while I'm sitting at my mother's house with everyone asleep except for me. So let's get into the card. We'll start in that early matchup. Kairat Almaty of Kazakhstan. They're hosting Olympiacos of Piraeus, Greece, in the Athens area, or in Athens directly. Kairat are 1.25 goal underdogs with all the juice right now. Total in this one is 2.75. And the biggest problem for me, yes, they're at home, but I don't know that I can trust Kairat Almaty despite facing one of the smaller clubs. I mean, big club in Greece, of course, but not a big club on the grand scheme of things compared to the Champions League. So that's a concern for me, to say the least. If anything, I'd lean to the home underdog, but it is not a strong one at the very moment because unfortunately, I do watch a lot of these matches, almost all of them. I have not watched a lot of Kairat matches because they have not seemed to be very close. And maybe this is one they get, but I don't think it's for me. We'll move next to another match that should be a blowout. The last, and this is another standalone, which is surprising. But Bayern München, they are hosting Sporting Lisboa. Total in this one is 3.5. More juice on the under side. We have Bayern are 2-goal favorites. So Bayern had their win every match streak snapped by Union Berlin in a road draw in the German Bundesliga. But this team has been playing really, really well. Sporting Lisboa, ever since their manager Ruben Amorim left for Manchester United, have not been able to do anywhere near or have the same amount of success. I think it doesn't make sense because Ruben Amorim, despite this season's Manchester United's improvement, they've still been horrible by all standards for them. But I think it was just the right place, right time, had the right players, and that was a thing. From a Sporting Lisboa's perspective, I mean, they could go and play a defensive brand on the road at Bayern, but that's what everyone does. It doesn't work out very well. And I don't know that I trust Sporting to do that because they're one of the teams trying to win the La Liga Portugal. And that usually comes with scoring a lot of goals and going on the road and suddenly defending. While I do believe that most of these big clubs can do it, I'm just not sure that's part of their DNA. We'll move next to the big slate of matches on Tuesday, the 9th of December. We'll start with Barcelona. They are hosting Eintracht Frankfurt. Barca, of course, with a lot of focus on La Liga. Eintracht Frankfurt, really, I guess they're focused on the Bundesliga first, but Champions League is still pretty important to them. They do travel really well. We saw some good results from German teams at Camp Nou, at Barcelona in the past. I don't know that we necessarily see that in this one, but I think from at least my current perspective, the Barcelona high line has improved, but it's still a big problem. Eintracht Frankfurt have not defended well this year. They've, I think, really been focused on that because it's been really holding them back in the Bundesliga and in Champions League, you could argue. They've had some good results there and some bad ones really in Germany. But at the same time, I'm just not really sure that what they've fixed is actually fixed. This will be a big test for it. But I do think that Eintracht can score against Barca as most can. Clean sheets are really hard for Barcelona at this point, or really they have been really any Hansi Flick style when he's not coaching Bayern München. So the 2.25 is interesting to me, I guess, because it's bigger than I made it. It's above 2, which is key that we're crossing full goals of insurance. So that's important to me. But the number here is, gigantic. 4.25. Joe Dollar, one of the longtime Patreon subscribers, patreon.com/real_G Warner, loves favorites and overs, is trying to convince me to always go that way. Sorry, Joe. But if there's ever an over to play, it might be this one. We'll move next. Put my biggest interest that one on the Eintracht side, but the total is enormous. It probably goes over, but I'm not the over player. Sorry, everyone. Bet in the Pitch, Apple Podcast, and on Spotify, 5-star reviews. You can try to convince me to be an over player. If you leave a 5-star review, I'll think about it. Move next to Atalanta. They're hosting Chelsea of London. Currently, Atalanta, quarter goal underdogs at home right now. A little bit more juice on the road favorite. Total in this one's 2.75, and a juice slightly more to over. So Atalanta have already sacked the manager this year. That's never a good sign, but they had to do it because they were terrible. And really, I think it was an impossible situation for Ivan Juric, who I like as a manager, when he's not supposed to be the best team out there, and he was the best team out there. So that certainly did not work. I could have told you it didn't work. And there was, frankly, a lot of money to be bet on unders and money to earn there. Chelsea are not an under team for me, though. They have a ton of money. They spent billions so far, besides the club purchase. Nice job. From a part owner of the Los Angeles Dodgers, all these sort of things, Todd Boehly. I'd love to say what's up to him in person someday. But until then, I don't think they've done a great job. But they have a lot of money, and that matters in this sport, any place where there's no salary cap. So Atalanta used to be a side I'd like to back in this home underdog type of state. I don't know that I'm that interested in it. I'll put it on the list because I like the idea of fading Chelsea, but especially as a road favorite. But Chelsea have been improving, of course, because they've spent so much money on players. They have to. But I don't know that I trust them as a road favorite. I just don't know that Atalanta are the side that I want to do anything with, because they went from scoring a ton of goals and really dictating tempo to kind of just being all over the place. And I don't really like that. I want to see them stabilize under a new manager because it's not been a good start to the season. Move next to Union Saint-Gilloise of Brussels in Belgium. They are hosting Marseille, Olympique de Marseille from France. Currently, Union Saint-Gilloise quarter goal underdogs with all the juice right now at home. Total in this one is 2.75, just a little bit more to over. So I'm surprised that Union Saint-Gilloise are they are an underdog. Okay. Freaking out for a second. I'm not as surprised, let me rephrase, for them to be an underdog. Made them an underdog, but smaller than this, and it's very juicy at the moment, and we probably see this fall to pick them is where I've seen this sort of heading, or really just there's been a lot of mistrust for Marseille in this Champions League competition so far. They deserve to win it, Sporting Lisboa in Portugal, but took a ridiculous diving simulation red card trying to get, or second yellow, turned to a yellow red as they call it in Germany and Deutschland, trying to earn a penalty to go up 2-0. Then, of course, ended up losing 2-1 despite a 1-0 lead. But I'm not going to hold that against Emerson Palmieri forever. I don't like him for it. But Marseille, to me, are far more talented. Union Saint-Gilloise want to play a high-scoring game, and that's what Marseille want as well, especially with Roberto De Zerbi. That's exactly what their manager's needs, has built his career around. So I don't really like that setup. To Joe Dollar, longtime subscriber's point, patreon.com/real_G Warner, Joe. I think there is some value on the over here. Over right now is 2.75. It's below the 3 I was expecting. There's one for you, Joe. Actually, there's two for you on this episode. This is like the over podcast of the century. So hope you're enjoying it, and hope you catch this later, because I don't think you're up this late at night. Next, we'll move to PSV Eindhoven in Eindhoven, Holland. Currently, they are quarter goal underdogs at home right now, with a lot of the juice to Atletico Madrid of Spanish La Liga. Total this one is 3, juiced very heavily to over. And Atleti, they are just so tough for me to pinpoint. They were an auto fade to start the season, got us off to a very good start in our La Liga betting. Thank you to to Diego Simeone and others. Also, thank you to those of you that are here live. Feel free to throw something in the comments, and I will try to respond to it as soon as I see it. And if there are any audio issues, please holler, because sometimes StreamYard's a lot more finicky live than Zoom will be. Anywho, from a athletic perspective, I mean, they spent so much money in their clubs, so they have the ability to do great things. They've certainly come better from a really, really poor start to the year. But I think at this point for me, I'm interested in home underdogs, especially in great, strong home environments. That's exactly what Eindhoven boasts all these sort of things. They're weaker. They've lost a lot of talent. I believe Arne Slot left. Actually, I think he left Feyenoord. But regardless, they've lost a lot of talent, especially English has been sniffing around. The Dutch league is always good. And I think it's closer to the Spanish La Liga level than most marketplaces believe. But we're only getting a quarter of a goal. It's enough generally for me to back a home underdog that I like, lean that way. And don't know that I have a feel for the total, because Atleti, they're just not the defensive side they used to be. And I think that's why they're not as good. Moving now to Monaco, as I'm wearing one of their practice kits from 2 seasons ago, I believe. If you're watching an Apple Podcast or on Spotify, hit that 5-star review button. Leave a comment. That'd be huge for the search rankings. I'll probably not be wearing this when I record the reel, because I will be likely in my car outside my office. But you get it now, I guess, if you want it. Or just probably for the best for everyone else is just turn off the video portion of this episode. But we'll go to Monaco hosting Galatasaray of Istanbul in Turkey. Currently, Monaco, a half a goal favorite. All the juice on Galatasaray. Total is 3, juiced all the way to over. So that's taken some money since I looked at lines, not unfortunately as long as I had been for other leagues that were going on. And we've seen Galatasaray move to a half of a goal underdog from a quarter. And there's been a little bit bitten out of the under, which is plus 106, now down plus 101. So I'm not a believer in the Turkish defenses in Champions League or any European competition, really. It's been better than I think I expected this year across most of the Turkish Super League. But the nice part is Monaco's offense has not been firing, and that's been a big, big issue. And closing as an underdog on the road at Bodø/Glimt in this competition is something, because you go essentially to Norway, the most northern point, the Arctic Circle up there. But not a lot of love for them. They've sacked their manager, Arihutu, who I really liked. So that's disappointing for me for a lot of reasons. But Pocanoli came over from Union Saint-Gilloise, which is another thing I should have mentioned earlier in the show. But he's trying to figure it out. Galatasaray, I think, is probably my interest right now. Because I don't play favorites in this sport, as everyone knows. Not in most sports, but some I do, I guess. I think total, it's bigger than I made it, but it deserves to be. And I don't know that I really want much to do with unders, because I think Monaco will become a goal-scoring team under Pocanoli, but we haven't really seen it yet. We'll move next to what might be the most interesting to me matchup on the Champions League Tuesday card of the December 9th edition. We have Inter Milan half a goal favorites right now at home to Liverpool. 4 cents more juice on the Liverpool English side. Total is 2 3/4 in this one, and it is plus money now on the odds for under. So we've seen some over money come in. I'm waiting for this to hit 3. Liverpool's defense has been bad for a couple seasons, if not more. Inter's is great. I think they will control the game, and I think Arne Slot is being exposed alongside with a lot of disappointing Liverpool signings. They got big players, big names, but it has not worked. Had an incredible losing streak into the international break of November and are trying to pull themselves out of it, especially as these festive fixtures come up with games every 2 or 3 days in England while everyone else is off across the globe, it seems. I think Liverpool, I'm surprised they're this big of an underdog. It's very juiced right now at half of a goal, but I was hoping to get Inter as a pick'em, and that's not happening, though. And honestly, some Inter money has been coming in. So not a lot for me out there on this one, I got to say. I guess I lean to Liverpool at the current number, but because it's bigger than I made it. But total, we need to get to 3, and it's not there yet either. So not a lot for me probably in that one. Move next to Tottenham hosting Slavia Prague from, you guessed it, Prague, Tottenham of North London. Currently, Tottenham 1 1/4 goal favorites. Almost all the juice on Slavia Prague away. Total in this one is 2.5. Excuse me, 2.75, and it's just very heavily to under, probably trending towards 2.5. So Tottenham have been really defensive under Thomas Frank, new manager who came over from a lower budgeted club, rode Brentford from the Championship all the way to the Premier League, kept them in and done a great job. And I like him as a manager, but you don't want Tottenham as a big favorite. At home, they should be better, but I've been disappointed in that so far this season. They're still way too conservative for me, and for that reason, the price is a little bit lower than I wanted on the side, but I think under 2.75 is very interesting because I don't see a lot of goals scored in that matchup. And that is the closing match for the Tuesday portion of the show. I've not done a very good job of transferring over my interests from Tuesday onto my other worksheet, so I'm going to have to do this all off a bit of the dome to come up with what this best bet would potentially be. And I honestly think it might be the last game we spoke about. I think under 2.75, most interesting thing for me on the Tuesday portion of the card is not the total finale ultimate best bet, though. Stick around because we're still going to do Wednesday, and then I'm going to decide if I like a Wednesday play or a Tuesday play live for all of you, or recorded if you're watching it later. On Wednesday, actually, let me check to see the audio is doing okay. Hopefully no comments are saying, and it's late, but no one said anything so bad. So we will go to Villarreal hosting FC Copenhagen in the Valencia region, the Comunitat Valencia in Spain. We will start with that matchup as I navigate back to the spreadsheet. Okay, so Copenhagen, currently 1.25 goal underdogs, more juice in the home team. Total is 3, and it's juice more to under. Villarreal went from a goal scoring, we are outscoring you, we don't care about defense team, to a now counterattacking defensive one after they sold a bunch of talent, and it's been going very well. Their manager is that style, and I think Marcelino did a great job of playing the way that his team is built and has switched it to his liking, and it's worked very well. And I might have had some doubts coming into the year, but I've been impressed. Copenhagen can score goals. They have some big names. Elyounoussi of Southampton for a while in the Premier League, and other names, Klaassen, all things like that. But they are not in the same budget level, even though Villarreal is not very big, which is a big reason that I thought they would struggle in Champions League this year, though it's ultimately a benefit, I think, than versus Europa League, because you get more time to rest midweek despite playing bigger games, bigger matches. I think Copenhagen, bigger than a goal underdog, is my interest in this one. I like the under 3 as well, but they've been more of a score goals team, and I kind of want a very defensive one to force Villarreal to create and not fall in traps. And I think that's a big, big issue in this one, potentially. Move now to Karabakh of Azerbaijan. They are hosting Ajax in one of the most ridiculous numbers I have ever seen. Karabakh, to a former, I'm sure, Champions League winner, but relatively recent Champions League runner-up, and Karabakh are half a goal favorites at home because Ajax are an absolute disaster. Backed them in a match against, I want to say, Galatasaray, and was hating it the whole time. They hung around for a while, but literally conceding possession at home as home underdog to a Turkish side that can't defend is like, there's no excuse for that. It's amazing how far the club has fallen. I would be embarrassed to be an Ajax fan, and I'm sorry for anyone that is, because it was great for a while, and I've heard the stadium's awesome. My buddy Francis went and loved it there, and I think he's kind of hidden Ajax fan for that reason, which I respect. I was hoping they would be a lot more respected by the number, and they don't have it. I think only thing for me here is Karabakh being a Champions League favorite is insane. So potentially betting against their goals and having a push on 3 is important. So that's probably my biggest interest in that matchup. And that closes the 11:45 Central Time window, 12:45 Eastern Time, 6:45, and most of Europe portion of the Wednesday card. But we still have a lot left to go. I want to mention on patreon.com/real_GWarner, best place for all my episodes, the recaps, essentially all my leans every night. You can download the app, get notifications when I lock into play, and you can ride right along with me. So you make sure you get the best numbers. We'll start with Benfica and this big window on Wednesday. Benfica, they are a very surprising favorite to me at home against Napoli, the champions of Italy, and they are going on the road to Portugal, and they are an underdog. Wow, how the Giants have fallen. But Napoli spent a lot of money in their club, which is surprising because they haven't had it for a long time. Win a Scudetto and do it. Keep Conte around as your manager because he's going to go to Juventus, and it's been a disaster. They have not scored any goals. They had a 17-year-old come on for 83 minutes on Bologna's side earlier this Serie A season, still kept a clean sheet. It's been really bad, and I don't see that changing. With that said, the favorite role for Benfica, who are a big goal-scoring team, I don't know how that's going to work because Napoli, I think, are going to go into Conte's style, how he's always wanted to play, which is defend, take a 1-0 lead and kill the game. That is not modern football, but it's Antonio Conte football. And I think Benfica, it's especially wild because Jose Mourinho's there. So it's like legends are on the side touchline for this one. But I think my biggest interest is to the under 2.25, but I need more than that. It's juiced very heavily to over right now, so we'll see if that climbs. We'll move next to what might be the biggest names of Wednesday, and that's Real Madrid hosting Manchester City, teams that have seemingly run into each other in the knockout rounds forever and ever and ever. Currently, Real Madrid are a pick'em, and they've actually caught a little bit of money climbing from -109 and -115 on Bet Online. The total has stayed the same at 3.25, juice heavily to the under. I think Real Madrid have proven they can score goals. They have not proven they can defend, though. And that's a concern because Manchester City can certainly put some pressure on you. And I'm curious if Real Madrid, what Xabi Alonso's tactics will be when he is potentially an underdog. It's not an underdog situation right now, but if these two clubs were on a neutral, Manchester City would be favored. That's obvious. And I am curious. I mean, there's good vibes coming off of El Clasico debut for Xabi Alonso, but this is a big test. At Bernabeu, Real Madrid as a pick'em there is almost impossible for me to look past those. So that is on my list. It's an interest, no interest in the total. We'll move now, as I clicked the wrong thing, we'll go to the next matchup on this list, and that is Bayer Leverkusen. They are hosting Newcastle in a battle of German Bundesliga against English Premier League. And there is some value for me on Bayer Leverkusen here. They are a quarter goal underdog at home, which is not what I was expecting. All the juice is on Leverkusen, but I'm less concerned about it falling to pick 'em. I want to see what the English market, because money from the UK seems to dominate Champions League stuff, and they're always betting the UK side. So I'm waiting to see how good this price can get on Leverkusen, and I'll be watching it for a long time. They've been playing fairly well despite losing Xabi Alonso, who I just mentioned the match before, manager now at Real Madrid. Sold a lot of players, have kept some important ones, though. So I want to say that. And new manager already sacked one this year. That was not a great start, but things have gotten a lot better, and Newcastle have proven again when they're in Champions League, they cannot play road games whatsoever, and it's really disappointing, but it's something I've learned, and St. James's Park is a fortress, but they are very weak away from home. So Leverkusen quarter goal underdog is my biggest interest in that one. Move next to Juventus hosting Paphos, one of the smallest clubs in this competition of Cyprus, I believe. Juve of Torino, of course, in northwestern Italia. Juve 2-goal favorites, all the juice on that side. Probably climbing to 2.25 if I had to guess. Total in this one 3.25. I would expect Paphos to try to defend every chance they can. Total's a bit bigger than I made it, but probably is because there's not a lot of faith in the Paphos side. We'll move next to Athletic Club, and they are hosting PSG, just trying to find a way out of this competition, I think, at this point. 1-goal underdogs are Athletic Club right now. Total is 2.75, and it's juiced pretty heavily to under. It's been an awful start to the season for Athletic Club. After 3 wins, it was a great start, and then everything hit the fan, if you will. The Williams brothers have been injured. It's been really, really sad because I'm a decent fan of Athletic Club just in the way they play counterattacking style. They're often overrated at home, but not as a full goal underdog. Played an extra match last week trying to make up a potential match a match they would have had when they're going to the Saudi Arabian or whatever blood money Riyadh season probably place who sponsor the Spanish Supercopa, the Supercopa de España. And I think PSG have also been fairly weak, speaking of oil-rich clubs. The back sides have not been very good, but they can lose by a single goal, and I like that enough to consider them. Total's a little bit lower than I made it, but PSG have just not been great or getting a lot of respect so far this season, so I'm not as concerned about that. Moving next to Club Brugge hosting Arsenal, and surprisingly, we've seen some money come in on the Belgians. They're 1.5-goal underdogs with a lot of juice right now. Total in this one is 3, and it's used pretty heavily to under. Total's bigger than I made it. I love what Bruges have been. I'm not sure that I'm that interested in fading Arsenal because they are literally just dominating every game and forcing everyone to defend for 97 minutes, however many minutes of stoppage time there is. That's really hard to do. Bruges have talent. They're often undervalued. They have a little bit more goals in their side, or have in competitions like this for years. So they're not really an under team that I've loved to get involved with, I'll admit. So I think for me at this point, I mean, I'm interested in the under 3 because that's the style that Arsenal will dictate. I think the side, it's also, I mean, Bruges is a bigger underdog than I expected, but I shouldn't have expected it. It's very juicy at the moment. Probably will oscillate between 1.25 and 1.5, but I imagine it'll close 1.5 or higher. So if you like Bruges, I think you wait. We'll move now to the last matchup on our list before we get to ultimate best bet, and maybe I can go to sleep before midnight. Unlikely because I still got to post this stuff. But Borussia Dortmund, they are 1.75 goal favorites to Bodo Total is high, but a little bit more juice on Dortmund right now. And that's something I need to update, I think. So we have total at 3.5. We've seen a little bit of money come in on over, and that should be what happens because Bodo try to outscore you. I don't really like their chances doing that, but that is how they're built. I think I'm waiting to see a 2-goal underdog, but going to, I mean, going on the road in front of the yellow wall from the Arctic Circle is going to be rough. And total's a little bit bigger than I made it, but I don't want to play unders with clubs that want to score goals and don't really care that they're not going to change their ways. I respect it. It's not the most pragmatic. It's not pragmatic, generally not intelligent to me, but at +2, I'll be interested on a value basis, or variance basis, but I'm not sure that there's enough there for me, I'll admit. For the best bet on Wednesday, I'm going to go with, and then we're about to record the ultimate best bet portion of the show, so stick around. If you made it this far, I will give you what we're grading this episode on as soon as I get this out there. I'll go Real Madrid to pick them at home. It never happens. I'm curious to see how healthy this lineup's going to be, but we'll know an hour before or an hour and 15 before on Wednesday. I just think there's a rare occasion where we see Real Madrid where they could just get a result, draw or win at home, and you, at worst, get the money put back in your account that you wagered. So very interested in that one. Things I want to mention. We do have a college football podcast coming out previewing the college football playoff, and I'm sure talk a lot about Texas. How about Arsenal? Thank you for coming in here. Sorry, I'll go back to my all win X1J. I do not know what. Thank you for coming. How about Arsenal? I think they're, off to an incredible start. They've been great. One of my best friends in the world is a big Arsenal supporter, and everything is great for how it's gone for them so far. I do think that they're going to struggle to score goals in Champions League as they have a few times so far this season, and wouldn't be surprised if that happens again. So under is my biggest interest in that matchup, as I've already, I think, said. Thanks for joining whenever you got in here. But I think that's kind of part of how this goes, is that there is a lot of pressure on Arsenal to score a ton of goals, and they don't get threatened much defensively. So that's a really great combo for unders. But for the ultimate best bet portion of the show, actually, before I get there, I was mentioning college football podcast on the pregame.com podcast network with Lante. That'll be out there tomorrow night, most likely, talking about the college football games. We're going to go through Army, Navy as well. Plus, Big East Bend college basketball stuff will be out most likely Friday for the weekend. Andrew Snicker and I on this podcast network, Bend the Pitch, Apple Podcasts, and on Spotify, we'll be going through the NFL. Had a really good weekend this weekend. Perfect, actually. Thank you for the Bears. Nice little push when you bought the hook. And that's what patreon.com subscribers got. Patreon.com/real_G Warner. Would have had a much better, actually, NFL weekend, but I was a little bit gun shy and didn't want to play the Titans and the Bengals and the Bengals over and all these things that I should have played, but easy after the fact to say that. And there will be a Europa League episode likely coming out Wednesday night. I have a date Wednesday I'm excited about, but I think we're still going to record at some point. Well, we'll see what happens. Depends how early I wake up on Thursday, maybe. But then we'll have a normal weekend episode, and then there's some good news coming. Got a new show starting. Don't have details to release just yet, but looking forward to it. And moving on up in the world, but still have 1 million followers to get until we have any sort of ads on YouTube. So you don't have to worry about that. And I consider that a gift to all of you. Plus, if you don't have an account at BetOnline, hit me up at @thereal_G_Warner across any social media platform, and I will get you signed up because these numbers are better than anywhere else. And I'm constantly trying to keep money at there. And I don't know what I could say that was more, I guess, positive. They are a former sponsor, but not currently a sponsor of the podcast, Betting Pitch Podcast, Apple Podcast, Spotify, and at @thereal_G_Warner on YouTube and on Instagram. So for the ultimate best bet portion of the show, you've been hanging around. I haven't been stalling, I promise. Just trying to say what's been going down or set you up for the weekend. Tottenham, Slavia Prague is my biggest interest on Tuesday, under 2 3/4 there. Real Madrid, a pick'em at home to Manchester City on Wednesday. And I will go with Los Merengues, Los Blancos. I'll go with Real Madrid and Le Bernabeu in Madrid. I will take them as a pick'em because I don't want to pay anything if they don't win. If they draw at home, great. You can have my money will come back, and I'm not worried about that. So I do want to make sure I get Real Madrid at a pick'em or better. I don't imagine that they will close an underdog here, but it's fairly inexpensive to play the pick'em right now. So I'll go Real Madrid, a pick'em at home to Manchester City. And that's the best bet on this episode. We will be back, like I said, very, very soon. Thank you for those of you that came in here, and we'll talk to you all down the road, as my guy Munaf used to say.
Recording stopped.